Hello students, welcome to the part 2 of the chapter Electrochemistry. In this part we are going to discuss about galvanic cell. Galvanic cell is a device that converts chemical energy into electrical energy. For that it uses spontaneous redox reaction. Using spontaneous redox reaction it generates electricity. A classical example for galvanic cell is Daniell cell. You might have heard about this cell in your physics lab. So Daniell cell is a galvanic cell that uses a spontaneous redox reaction to generate electricity. What is that spontaneous redox reaction that is used by Daniell cell? It is the same reaction that we already discussed in part 1 of this chapter. If you look into the oxidation number, you will be able to identify the species that has reduced and species that has oxidized. Cu2 plus accepts 2 electron and get reduced to Cu0. On the other hand, zinc metal get oxidized to zinc 2 plus. In the process it loses electron. What is electricity? Electricity is flow of electron. For Daniell cell to be a galvanic cell, it has to produce electricity from this redox reaction. But here the transfer of electrons is between Cu2 plus and Zn. So Daniell, to achieve the production of electricity, he simply split this reaction into two half reactions. One is the oxidation half reaction and the other one is reduction half reaction. In the oxidation half reaction we have two species. They are the redox couples, and in the reduction half reaction also we have two species. They are copper redox couples of copper, Cu2 plus and Cu. Now can you assume how he succeeded in generating electricity from these two half reactions? Yes, let's see in the next slide how he succeeded. So he took two vessels, one on the left and one on the right, and on the left he tried to conduct the oxidation half reaction. For that he dipped zinc electrode in zinc 2 plus solution, zinc electrolyte solution, and on the right he dipped copper electrode in copper electrolyte. Now what he did, he connected the two electrodes. So during oxidation zinc loses 2 electron and zinc 2 plus will enter into the solution. So you can see by oxidation zinc 2 plus has entered into the solution. Once again it wasn't there, and as a part of oxidation zinc 2 plus appeared in the solution, and ultimately the solution has changed into a positive potential because here zinc 2 plus ions is in excess now. Now those 2 electrons that has come out of zinc will pass through this wire and reaches copper, where the reduction reaction is taking place. Cu2 plus in the solution will accept those electrons and will get deposited on the copper electrode. So Cu2 plus accepts that 2 electrons and get deposited as Cu. So you can see that Cu2 plus will disappear from here. Cu2 plus will accept those 2 electrons and get deposited as copper. As a result, 2 positive charges were gone from this solution, and hence the solution becomes negative. Here the solution is positive and here the solution is negative. No more electrons will flow from here. Why? Because electrons are negatively charged. Here the solution is positive, which will not allow further flow of electron. Here the solution is negative, which will repel the electron that is coming towards it. So Daniell faced first problem here. To solve this problem he devised an apparatus called salt bridge. As the name implies, it is filled with salt, and it's a bridge that connecting between the two solutions without getting them mixed. So salt bridge contains salt, and it's a bridge between two solutions without getting them mixed. And whenever there is a charge developing in the solution, for example here it is negatively charged solution, immediately salt bridge will deliver two positively charged ions, because it's negative solution. To compensate that, positive charges diffuse from this salt bridge and making the solution neutral again. Similarly here, the solution is positively charged because of excess zinc 2+ ions. To compensate that, negatively charged anions diffuse from this side, making the solution neutral again. Once the solution is neutral, again the electron starts flowing. It reaches here, it reduces Cu2+, again salt bridge will transfer ions and the circuit is complete. So the function of salt bridge is to complete the circuit and at the same time maintain the neutrality of the solution. It provides a connection between the two solutions. So salt bridge, the main purpose is to complete the circuit, to maintain the neutrality of the solution. The flow of electron through this wire can be detected using any devices like ammeter, or you can connect a bulb. So all these things will work because there is flow of electron through this wire. As we have learned in the electrolysis process, electrodes where reduction reaction takes place is called cathode, and where oxidation takes place is called anode. So here copper electrode is the cathode, or you can say the entire half cell represents cathode, and zinc electrode is anode. As shown here, there is a charge for this electrode that is positive. We will explain why cathode is having positive charge, the reason for the positive charge in the coming slides, and also negative charge for the anode. Here you can see that negatively charged electron is flowing from anode to cathode. That's because of this positive potential for the cathode. Electron flowing from anode to cathode. Electron is negatively charged and it flows from anode to cathode because of the positive potential of the cathode. By convention, whenever you represent a galvanic cell, cathode must be placed on the right and anode on the left. So you can represent either using a diagram or you can represent using notation, which we will see later. Whenever you represent a galvanic cell, cathode must be on the right and anode must be on the left. And as I said, cathode is having higher potential. So always energy flows from higher potential to lower potential. If you keep a beaker of water on a table, energy from the hot water will flow into its surroundings because in the surroundings temperature is lower. Like that, whatever energy it is, it will always flow from higher energy to lower energy. As I said, the potential is high for cathode here. So current, which is a form of energy, will flow from higher potential cathode to lower potential anode. So you can see current, which is type of energy, flows from higher potential cathode to lower potential and anode. Electron, on the other hand, will flow from lower potential to higher potential. Higher potential is itself positive and electron is negative, so it flows from lower to higher potential. So conventional current and electron flows in exactly opposite direction. This is one reason for that. So as I said, cathode is having positive potential and anode is having negative potential. So that means individual half cell is having a potential, and that potential is called electrode potential. Again, cathodic half cell and anodic half cell is having different potentials, and these individual potentials are called electrode potential, which is represented like this: electrode potential or E electrode. How can you define electrode potential? Electrode potential is the potential difference between electrode and its electrolyte. This is the electrode. If you take cathode, it has a potential, and that potential is the potential difference between electrode and electrolyte. Potential difference between electrode and electrolyte. Same is the case with all type of half cells. This is another half cell. It is the potential difference. Electrode potential is the potential difference between electrode and its electrolyte. Now let's see how cathode is getting a positive potential. In the cathode, it's always reduction that is taking place. Reduction means positively charged Cu2 plus accepts 2 electron. How? It moves slowly to the electrode, and from there it takes 2 electron. As a result, electrolyte loses Cu2 plus. Let's see, 2 plus, and get deposited there as Cu. Now solution has turned negatively charged. So you can say with respect to electrolyte, Cu is having positive potential. That Cu2 plus that is reduced here will pass its positive charge onto this electrode, and the solution becomes negative. So with respect to electrolyte, cathode electrode will get a positive potential. Cathode has a positive potential with respect to electrolyte. On the other hand, on anode, oxidation takes place. So what happened? Zinc metal will lose electron and goes into this solution as zinc 2 plus. So you can see here zinc 2 plus comes out, whereas electron goes onto the electrode, giving it a negative charge, and at the same time solution a positive charge. So with respect to solution or electrolyte, electrode will get a negative charge. So anode has a negative potential with respect to the electrolyte. So far we have seen that there is a potential difference between cathode and anode. Cathode is having positive potential and anode is having negative potential. I am going to verify this using a voltmeter. So I am replacing ammeter with voltmeter, and voltmeter will show the potential difference between cathode and anode. But the problem is, before I am doing this, I first have to standardize each electrode. How is standardization possible? Standardization in the case of galvanic cell means, if you are taking one electrode, the entire species involved in that electrode must have a concentration of unity. Again, so in this electrode we have two species. One is electrode and the other one is electrolyte. We have two species, one is electrode and the other one is electrolyte. Similarly, in anode also we have electrode and electrolyte. If you want to standardize, that means the concentration of both electrode and electrolyte must be 1 or unity. Zinc is a metal and copper is also a metal, and hence their concentration by default is unity. On the other hand, concentration of both the solution may change. So for standardization, I am introducing solution in the vessel as 1 molar. You can see here now the solution is 1 molar in both the cases. Now that means the cell is standardized and its voltage difference will always be the same. So to avoid confusions between the concentration, I have standardized both half cells, and hence their concentration is unity in both half cells. Now I am going to switch on voltmeter and to see the difference between the potential, and I could see a deflection onto the right. That means potential is higher here, and the voltmeter reading shows that it is 1.1 volt. Again, voltmeter has shown a deflection, and the deflection will be towards the half cell which is having higher potential, and that potential difference between cathode and anode is 1.1 volt. What does this 1.1 volt means? Means cathode is having higher potential, and that higher potential is 1.1 volt higher than that of anode. So you can say that 1.1 volt is the potential of this entire cell. While buying batteries from shops, you might have noticed volt written on it, or for the adapter you might have noticed volts. For inverter, 12 volts all these voltages depends on the redox reaction. So in this case we have two half cell, and if they are in their standard state, the potential difference between the two half cell is 1.1 volt, or the entire Daniell cell, the potential difference is 1.1 volt. When you change this half cell into different half cell, suddenly the volt also changes. So in the case of Daniell cell, it is 1.1 volt. Since it is the potential difference of this Daniell cell, you can call it as cell potential. Since the cell is in the standard state, you can call it as standard cell potential, and you can represent it like this. It is the potential difference between cathodes and anodes. So it is represented as E0 cell. E0 stands for standard, E stands for potential, and cell denotes that it is the potential difference of this cell. If it is written electrode here, then it is the potential difference of the electrodes. Now just to recollect, what is called electrode potential? Electrode potential is the potential difference between electrode and electrolyte, whereas cell potential is the potential difference between two half cells, cathode and anode. So you can write it like this: E0 cell is equal to E cathode minus E anode. That is, potential difference of a cell, or a cell potential, is the difference between the potential of cathode minus potential of anode. What is potential of cathode? Potential of cathode is the potential difference between electrode and electrolyte. So from where can I calculate this E0 cell? I can calculate E0 cell from voltmeter, provided that they are in their standard state. Then only it is E0. If E0 is not there, I am removing E0, then means E cell means it is the electrode potential which is not in standard state, As I said earlier, by convention, always cathode should be placed on the right and anode on the left. So I can replace, or I can write the same equation in different form, that is E0 cell is equal to E0 right minus E0 left. So E0 right by default it is cathode, and E0 left by default it is anode. There is also another term generally used instead of standard cell potential or cell potential, that is EMF, Electro-Motive Force, which you might be familiar with this term in lower classes as well as in physics class. EMF means Electro-Motive Force. That means the force that is tending electron to move. That's the correct meaning of this. It is again the potential difference between the two half cells when there is no current flowing. So I am maintaining the concentration of 1 molar, and if I switch it off, then there is always a tendency to flow electron when I switch it on. So that difference, once when I switch it on, so there is no current flowing. Once when I switch it on, suddenly there is a pull of electron. That is the electromotive force. So it's the same as cell potential. E0, E cell, EMF both are the same. But in definition wise, there is a small addition to EMF, that is no current is flowing. Okay. Now, is there any other means of representing a cell, a galvanic cell? Yes, you can also represent, other than from diagram, using a diagram, you can also represent using a notation. So let's see how to notate Daniell cell. So Daniell cell, as I said, in whatever way you are representing, you are supposed to represent anode on the left and cathode on the right. So this is the type of cell notation you can use. You can see here anode on the left, and while representing anode, you should remember the reaction, its oxidation, and in the oxidation, zinc is oxidized to zinc 2+. So you have to first write the reactant of the anode, zinc, its phase separated by a vertical line, then the product, that is zinc 2+ oxidized form in aqueous solution, its physical state. What does this vertical line mean? Vertical line means zinc and zinc 2 plus has an interface between them. They interact between each other. Here there is an interface between zinc 2 plus and zinc. Now it is followed by a two vertical line. That means zinc 2 plus and Cu2 plus has no any direct contact but has an indirect contact with salt bridge. So this two vertical line I can call it that it is representing salt bridge, which means there is no direct contact but an indirect contact. Now coming to the cathodic part, again we have to think about the reaction there. It is a reduction reaction where Cu2 plus is accepting, so you have to write Cu2 plus first, the reactant first, aqueous, then a vertical line, then the reduced part Cu with its physical state. So again, anode on the left, cathode on the right. While writing anode, reactant first, that is its reduced part, then the oxidized part which is separated by a vertical line, then the two vertical line that represents the salt bridge, then cathode, again according to the reaction. In the cathode, that is reduction reaction, Cu2 plus changes into Cu. So only difference between the two half reactions is that here there is no electrons involved, but all other informations are here. Since this is in standard condition, you don't have to write the concentration here, otherwise you have to write the concentration here. Along with aqueous, you put a comma and write the concentration if they are not in their standard form. If they are in their standard form, then you just have to write like this. I think it's clear. If it's not clear, let's see one more cell, not the Daniell cell. Here half cells are different. You can see. Can you find out which species is reducing and which species is oxidizing? So reduction takes place in cathode, yes. Which species is reducing? Ag plus is getting reduced to Ag. So the oxidizing agent is Ag plus. Ag plus gets reduced to Ag. And on anode it is the oxidation reaction, and you can see Cu is the reduced part, it get oxidized to Cu2 plus. So this is the reducing agent. Cu is the reducing agent and it get oxidized to Cu2 plus. So oxidation reaction is Cu to Cu2 plus and reduction reaction is Ag plus to Ag. Again I have represented cathode on the right in this diagram with a positive potential and copper on the left with a negative potential because it's anode. So you can see that copper can also function as anode. In the Daniell cell it was cathode, and in this cell it is copper silver cell, it is anode. Why? Because compared to silver it is having lower reduction potential or lower electrode potential. Its electrode potential is lower, whereas electrode potential of silver is higher. Now how to represent using notation? So I can represent like this. Now if I am going to notation, I have to represent anode on the left. Here anode is copper, so the reaction Cu to Cu2 plus, so you have to write Cu vertical line Cu2 plus, their physical states, then this salt bridge followed by silver electrode where reduction takes place, Ag plus to Ag. So it is now clear that electrodes can either function as cathode or anode, and what decides it? It is decided by the electrode potential. Whichever is having higher reduction potential or electrode potential, because it is the reduction potential of Ag plus that's giving its high electrode potential. So from now on, instead of reduction potential, I will call it as electrode potential. So cathode is having higher reduction potential or electrode potential than anode. In the case of Daniell cell, this cell was the cathode, because the one that is connected to this cell was zinc and it is having lower electrode potential. Okay. And in the list given here, it is different half cells. So half cells are given as their reduction reaction. All the half cells are given as their reduction reaction. As we move up, their electrode potential increases. So as we move up, the electrode potential, or which otherwise we call as reduction potential, increases. Only reduction potential or reduction reaction is enough to compare the electrode potential of these half cells. If we know the electrode potential, then we can decide which one will be the cathode and which one will be the anode if you connect between the two half cells. Again, it is the half cell reactions, various half cell reaction. I have arranged them in a way that as we go down, the electrode potential decreases. So electrode potential is maximum for this half cell and minimum for lithium plus to lithium half cell. Such an arrangement is called electrochemical series. To generalize it, we can say that oxidized form, upon receiving sufficient number of electrons, will get reduced to M. So this is reduction reaction, and the list given here represents various half cell, not all but some. I have selectively taken it to create a table. If I want to put everything, 1 or 2 slides is not enough, so I have selectively put few half cells here, and I have arranged in a way that as you go up, their electrode potential increases. So among the two electrodes, cathode and anode, which one is having higher electrode potential? It's cathode. So if you are connecting between two cells, say first two half cell, you just try to connect between them, then automatically the higher one or the top one will be having higher electrode potential and it functions as cathode. In the cathode, it is the reduction reaction, whereas in the anode, it will be opposite reaction, oxidation. This is reduction and it will happen in the opposite direction, which we will see the details in the next slide. So we have a general case here. If you want to represent, we have seen how to represent a cell using notation. First anode, then cathode, separated by vertical lines. All these things we have seen. If I want to represent an electrode alone, then I usually represent it like this of electrode. First the oxidized species, as shown in this form, oxidized species, its physical state, and followed by a vertical line, then its reduced species. I represent it like a cathode. So if you are representing electrode alone, so what is electrode potential? Electrode potential is the potential difference between electrode and electrolyte. How can you represent it? Is electrode potential represented by M, and the electrode is represented by its oxidized and reduced species, separated by a slash. First the oxidized species slash, then the reduced species. And if it is standard electrode potential, you have to additionally add a 0, E0 Mn plus slash M. Let's take an example of zinc. If you want to represent zinc, then you have to represent it like this. First the oxidized part, then its physical state, vertical line, and then its oxidized state. And its potential difference is denoted as E0 oxidized state slash its reduced state. Now let's see how to construct an galvanic cell out of this electrochemical series. Now first we have to do, what we have to do is pick two half cells to construct a cell. Let us pick Cu and Fe electrodes. So Cu2 plus Cu electrode is above Fe2 plus Fe electrode, so electrode potential will be higher for this half cell. That means cathode will be the copper electrode. So half cell with higher E0 must be the cathode, and one with the lower E0 must be the anode. So on the cathode it is reduction reaction as shown here, but on the anode it is oxidation, opposite of this reaction. So you can see Cu2 plus taking 2 electrons to become Cu metal. This is reduction reaction happening at the cathode, and on the anode it is the opposite of this reaction, because here it is the reduction reaction that is given, but on the anode it should be oxidation reaction, where Fe is oxidized to Fe2 plus, giving out 2 electrons. So the net reaction is just add up the reactants here first, Cu2 plus and Fe, 2 electron and 2 electron get cancels out, so giving the adding up the product side, you will get Cu plus Fe2 plus. So you have the net reaction. Now how to represent this cell using notation? You have to first give the anode part, and in the direction of the reaction oxidation here, so it is Fe2 plus separated by vertical line, their physical state, then 2 vertical line, salt bridge, followed by cathode. That follows the reaction here, reduction, Cu2 plus aqueous vertical line Cu. So this is the advantage of electrochemical series. You can pick any 2 cells, half cells, join them, and depending upon their position in the electrochemical series, you can identify the cathode, its reaction, anode, its reaction, then you can write down this cell. More details about the electrochemical series will be in the next part. We have few questions for discussion. What you have to do is pause the video, read the questions, try to find out the answer. After that, come back, resume the video, and try to evaluate your answers. So the first question: in which direction does the electron and current flow in a galvanic cell? I hope you have already prepared your answer. If not, you pause the video now and go through the questions and find the answers. After that, come back and resume. So I am going to discuss each question. In which direction does the electron and current flow in a galvanic cell? As we have already learned, in galvanic cell, electron flows from anode to cathode, whereas current flows from cathode to anode. Why? Electron flows from an electrode with lower potential. Anode is having lower potential in the case of galvanic cell, to higher potential, and cathode is having higher potential. So from lower potential to higher potential, whereas current flows from higher potential cathode to lower potential anode. Next question: what is the charge of anode and cathode in the galvanic cell? Cathode is having higher potential, so it's positively charged, and anode is having lower potential, so it is negatively charged. Cathode is reduction electrode and anode is oxidation electrode. Third question: what is the function of salt bridge in the galvanic cell? So it's to complete the circuit, and at the same time maintains electrical neutrality of the solutions in both the half cells. How to define cell potential and electrode potential? Cell potential means the potential difference between cathode and anode, whereas electrode potential is the potential difference between electrode and electrolyte. So cell potential is the potential difference between cathode and anode, and electrode potential is the potential difference between electrode and electrolyte. What is electromotive force, EMF? Electromotive force is nothing but the cell potential, is the potential difference between cathode and anode, but when no current is flowing through the circuit, you have to add that also. So it's the potential difference between cathode and anode, but when there is no current flowing through the circuit. Okay, study well.